I'm back from my 3 weeks in southern France, and while it's still fresh on my mind, I wanted to do a quick trip recap, what my itinerary looked like, things I would change, overall thoughts, etc. So first of all, I split my time half between province, however you want to say it, and then the French Riviera. So this video, I'll focus on Provence. I flew into Marseille and went straight to Arles, A-R-L-E-S. It's the western side of Provence. So 3 nights Arles, 2 nights Avignon, which I could have skipped, 4 nights Aix. I used to think it was pronounced I, but it's X-A-I-X, Aix-en-Provence. And then 2 nights Marseille before heading to the French Riviera. So I flew into Marseille, headed straight to Arles via bus and train, which was super easy. So I didn't arrive until about 6 p.m. on the first night. So out of those 3 nights, the first was a wash. So I had 2 full days in Arles and for day trips around Arles. Arles and Avignon, they're on the western side of Provence. And so Arles made for a great home base for the villages and sites on the western side. So from Arles, there's a lot of places you can go visit. They're all tiny. Orange, Nîmes, the Pont de Gard, which is a Roman aqueduct, Saint Remy, and you have Avignon to the north. So all these towns are very small. They're also very Roman. So it's called Provence because it was the first region to have the status of a Roman province. So you'll notice that a lot of these towns look and feel more Italian and Roman than they do French. A lot of them have mini colosseums, amphitheaters, forums, aqueduct systems, all of that. So much more Roman, which I like because I love Italy. So Arles definitely felt more Italian, and I'm glad I chose Arles as a home base. It was very easy. It's also right on the river, so great for jogs. The restaurants were great. There was 2 good coffee shops because again, it's tiny. So I spent 1 full day exploring Arles, and then I did a day trip to Nîmes, which Nîmes was interesting because it's the Pont de Gard, the Roman aqueduct. That's where the water from the Pont de Gard flows to. So it was interesting to see that. And I liked Nîmes because while Arles and many of the towns in Provence are only tourism, Nîmes actually felt like more of a living city where there were actually locals and it wasn't just purely tourism. So I did enjoy my day trip there. Was it anything mind-blowing? No. Honestly, none of those villages over there are mind-blowing. They're more just cute, quaint, good food, etc. So 3 nights in Arles was great. I then went to Avignon, which is easy. It's like a 20-30 minute train. I had a hunch I wasn't gonna like Avignon, which I should have stuck with that. I liked it, I didn't love it. I think Avignon is better served as a day trip, so I would have rather spent an extra night in Arles and then just day trip to Avignon. It just didn't feel as quaint. It felt more touristy. The famous site there is the Pope's Palace, which is gorgeous from the outside, but it's bare on the inside, so it's not really even worth visiting. So I would have, taken off my 2 nights in Avignon and just done that as a day trip. One positive is, though, with Avignon is it was a really quick train ride to Aix-sur-le-Sorgue, which was a charming little town. It was my favorite market out of all the markets in Provence because that is what that region is known for. They live by their markets, but Aix-sur-le-Sorgue, great market. It's huge, even though it's a tiny town, and it's kind of like water canals through the town. So it just has a different feel, like Arles and many other places feel kind of dry. So that was cool, and it's really fun to visit during market and then stay long enough so that you can experience after they pack the market up. It feels like a totally different place once the market's gone. So I really enjoyed Aix-sur-le-Sorgue. But again, I could have done that as a day trip from Arles. I could have even done that as a day trip when I moved on and was basing myself in Aix-en-Provence. So Avignon, I think most travelers can skip it or just do it as a day trip. Don't spend the night there. So then I took the train to Aix-en-Provence. I always thought it was I, but no, it's pronounced X, A-I-X. 4 nights there. Again, it was a little too long, which I kind of knew that going in, but I would rather have too much time than too little. I loved Aix. I was surprised. I didn't think I would love it as much as I did. It's bigger. It's one of the biggest cities in the Provence region. And there's a university, so it has a different vibe. And again, it feels a little bit more livable than a lot of these quaint, charming little villages. So the vibe was great. They have a market almost every day. It has more of a local feel. Yes, it's touristy, but I don't know, I just felt like there were more locals there than the other places I had visited. Restaurant scene was great, really good cafes, patisseries. Again, it's well situated for day trips to explore the Luberon villages. So out of my 4 days in Aix, one of those days I did a tour where we strung together Lourmarin, I have no idea how you pronounce that, Lourmarin, and then Roussillon and Gourds. And we could have continued and done a longer day trip and done Aix-sur-la-Sorge from there, but I had already done that. Loved the Luberon villages. I thought they were all different. So Lourmarin was medieval, again, tiny. You don't need more than 2 hours there to walk around and even stop into a few shops and have a coffee somewhere. I mean, it's that small, 2 hours is plenty. Roussillon is very interesting. That's where the Ochre Valley, the Ochre Cliffs are, which is that bright orange yellow pigment. So that's what they used back in the day for cosmetics and paints. Now it's all fake synthetic stuff. But so now there's an actual trail where you can walk through the Ochre Cliffs. So it's really cool to see the bright orange colors compared to like the green trees. Very pretty. And then of course the village, is very orange since like that's the material they had to build their stone buildings. But again, very tiny. You only need maybe 30 minutes to wander around that little village. It's tiny. Same thing for Gourds. It's beautiful, especially from afar. Once you get in, again, very medieval, but very small. So you only need not even an hour to wander around Gourds. The village is all very quaint, very charming. So to recap, loved Arles, didn't love Avignon, really enjoyed Aix-en-Provence. I did spend 2 nights in Marseille because I was just interested on what I would think about Marseille because I've heard not a lot of great things, but I don't know, Rick Steves said can kind of compare it to Barcelona, and I love Barcelona, so I was like, let's try it. My opinion is most travelers don't need to go to Marseille, but it exceeded my expectations. The restaurants were great, but the whole area around the port was wonderful, great hotel scene. Again, it's a city, so it feels more real and livable, and different populations, students, people living there and working there, not just tourism. So it's like if it's convenient or easier, if you're flying into and out of Marseille, if it's more convenient to spend a night there, coming in or leaving, then do it. I think it's enjoyable. I don't think you need to go out of your way to spend time there though. So things I would have done differently, again, I had way too much time, which I kind of knew that going in. I feel like for the average tourist, you need, I would say 3 nights in Western Provence. So either pick Arles or like Saint Remy. Saint Remy is supposed to be wonderful. I could not get there because they were having a festival, and so I couldn't get there by public transportation. But if you have a car, apparently Saint Remy is easier to get into and out of with a car than Arles is. So pick a town on the western side. I would pick Saint Remy or Arles, so you can explore that region, and then do 2 or 3 nights in Aix-en-Provence to focus on the Luberon Valley. Obviously, there's wine region and hiking if you want to do some of that, even bike riding. If I went back, I would probably schedule some bike rides or something, then obviously add in a day or 2. So yes, I definitely would rent a car for next time. I don't rent cars when I travel by myself. I could get around with public transportation, but it was difficult, and it's difficult to get to the further flung villages. So highly, highly, highly recommend renting a car. Again, I knew that going in, but I figured I'd try and make it work regardless. Overall thoughts, because a lot of people ask me when I get back, would you go back? How soon would you go back? Did you love it? I really enjoyed it. I'm glad I went. I don't think Jake would have loved it. I feel like for me, like the villages, I can't get enough of the cute villages, and I love taking photos, and I love just wandering around and stopping at a cafe, and that I never get tired of that. For Jake, I feel like after 2 or 3 villages, he would have said, I got it. I don't need to see any more. So I just don't know if that would have been his type of trip. I definitely would have had to work harder at maybe finding some hikes or bike rides or something, because I think it would have been a little bit redundant and slow for him. Like this region, you really slow down. This is not a fast-paced European adventure. I don't know that I'll be back anytime soon. And a big part of that for me is I just prefer Italy, Greece, southern Spain. One part is France in general, and like southern France, the prices were pretty much very similar to American prices. So like why I love Italy and southern Spain and Greece. I mean, it's so cheap and you feel like you can live it up for a fraction of what you would spend in America. You don't really have that feeling in France and southern France. So it doesn't feel like as good of a deal. So I'm glad I went. Do I need to go back anytime soon? No. Also, I'm very happy I went in late September and early October. The weather was perfect. It was like shorts and a t-shirt, maybe a sweater or jacket in the morning or evening, jeans and a t-shirt. Out of 3 weeks, it rained 3 days and back to back, and then it was it. And of course, in Provence, you have the provincial winds that come in, which that's normal. So I highly recommend doing late September into October. Also, when I talked to my tour guide on one of the tours, she did say that summer, while it's beautiful because that's when the lavender is in full bloom, and usually June, it's packed. She said the villages can't even handle the crowds. And so just imagining what that would have been like, I would not have enjoyed this trip if it was packed like that. Like part of the charm was that it was quiet, it was quaint. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. It would not have been enjoyable if I had gone during high season. So yes, definitely late September, early October. I think that's everything I want to talk about for Provence. So next up will be the French Riviera.